Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much, Rowena, for the introduction. Thank you so much. This is a lot more than the 5 that Dave and I talked about that might be showing up, so I'm really impressed. So thank you to all my friends, and you will get paid later. This whole presentation is about 10 years in the making. I have been doing Rosie the Riveter or World War II information for the last 10 years. My friend Norm Taylor did History Fest for years. Come on in, we can do this. We've been doing History Fest for 10 years, and what happens is that this has evolved. And evolved because of a need of information. I don't know everything. You guys don't know everything. You keep doing research. I was listening at your meeting about someone's got more research about something else, and you learned about a picture. That's how this evolved. So this presentation is going to gear just about Hoosiers and World War II. Not so much the whole nation, even though it was affected, but it has been said that Indiana was the number 3 state in producing and helping the war have its victory. And that's why I wanted to talk a little bit about it. Plus, I'm not a real Hoosier, I'm a Michigander, but I'm an adopted Hoosier. I've been here long enough that they say I'm a Hoosier. So without further ado, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Homefront and Rosie the Riveter and what people would have done. Those of you who have cards, when I talk about your card, you can shout amen, hoo-hoo, whatever it is, but that's your part in the show. So here we go. This slide right here is actually of the steel mills in Gary, Indiana. Now I'm saying this because you're going to notice a conglomerate of people. It's not just women. The Homefront was not just women, it was men, women of all different kinds. Which works for you? Do you want the lights on or off? Because we're a democracy. We go with a vote here. Okay, I don't think they can do that. So, the reason why this picture's up here is because Women of Steel is a website that I went to, and in Lifetime did a program about it. And I like this because this is actually a beginning of a day of training and rallying the troops that saying today we're going to be working on some rafters for this or riveting the hull of a ship, whatever the case may be. But the steel mill was number 1. So Gary, Indiana was very, very pinnacle in having, I would say, a lot of Hoosiers as riveters. So that's what I brought up here. And notice they all don't have this costume on either. This is going to be explained further on, but this costume is just a costume. It was not an actual person. It's a conglomerate of people, and that's what this represents. Here are your Rosies. I also found the National Rosie Riveter Association has a video I'm going to show you, and it's really pertinent to what we're talking about. So yes, you want to turn lights off. We don't have speakers. Well, where are they? We can do this, you know that? Sha.
Most women worked in typical female jobs or as homemakers if they were married. But on December 7th, 1941, everything was about to change.
This is your truly Sammy Cake. I can do so much for being with us again. Until next Sunday at the same time, may we wish you the best of luck, every happiness, and the most pleasant week to come.
From the NBC newsroom in New York, President Roosevelt said in a statement today that the Japanese have attacked the Pearl Harbor alive from the air.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date that will live in infamy. United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked.
Pearl Harbor bombing marked America's entrance into World War II. Men went off to war, and women vowed to do their part on the home front. Everyone was united with one common goal, to win the war, and women wanted and were expected to do their share. Thousands of women joined the military in exclusive women's services such as waves and wax. Many volunteered as nurses' aides. But no effort was too small. Women did everything from purchasing bombs that helped finance the war to collecting tin cans and other scrap metals that could be used in building war equipment. They even saved bacon grease, which was used in making ammunition. And when food, clothing, and gasoline were rationed, they learned to make do with what they had, and many planted victory gardens to grow their own vegetables. Nylons were considered a luxury because the materials were being used to make parachutes and tents for the soldiers. Women were encouraged to wear ankle socks instead. From coast to coast, many factories converted over to war production. But as more and more men went off to war, they left a huge void in the workforce, and there was a desperate need to fill their shoes. But who could they find who was strong enough, hard-working enough, and not afraid of heavy labor? Women. Everywhere women looked, there were signs pointing the way to jobs. Uncle Sam was making every effort to lure women into the factories to fill these vacant positions. There were even door-to-door campaigns encouraging women to do their patriotic duty and enter the workforce. Many homes had blue stars hanging on the doors indicating a loved one serving in the military. Chances are the women who lived here were happy to oblige. In fact, many women took on the challenge and went off to work. They rolled up their sleeves, tied up their hair, and said, "We can do it." And they did. Over 6 million of them who came to be known as Rosie the Riveters. But they weren't all riveters. There were many different production jobs. And after putting up with a little teasing from their male co-workers who sent them off to the tool crib for fictitious items such as airplane stretchers, these women settled in and helped to build thousands of airplanes, warships, and billions of rounds of ammunition. As husbands fought overseas, wives were building the equipment they needed to win the war. There were plenty of single women as well, some who found a bonus of falling in love on the job with a co-worker. Many Rosies were honored with the coveted Army-Navy E-Pin Production Award for their excellent service, and ceremonies were held just for this event. On September 2nd, 1945, the war was finally over, and soldiers returned home to the women in their lives. Many of these women were Rosie the Riveters, who helped them to win the war by taking care of things here on the home front. Like this Rosie, who knew the sooner the war was over, the sooner she could be reunited with her paratrooper, get married, and get on with her life. Many women returned to traditional roles on the job and in the home, but new doors and opportunities would open up for women, all because Rosie the Riveters answered their country's call for help, said we can do it, and got the job done.
Lights, please. Now, I thought, thank you. I'm part of the American Rosie the Riveter Association. I'm the Indiana chapter representative. I hope this mic stays on. Are we good? Can you all hear me? So now, I heard one woohoo, the home front. That was good. When we talk a little bit about each of your cards, if some women have it, but I also have someone that's not a woman that's in here because they are our supervisors. They were the ones who helped teach and give confidence to the women that they could do a job that's not traditional. So obviously, going in the service, did I give a card to anybody that's in the service? Do I have a wax? Good. Do I have Marines, which would be Marines? They didn't call you any cute names. It was just a Marine. Any waves? Excellent. So several. So we have those. Going off in the military was one option. A lot of them went into nursing, but what I read also is that a lot of them took the steno positions of their male counterparts so they could go off and fight because women weren't allowed to go into the front. Now, this is a picture from the archives of the Indiana History Museum. It's a cantina, and I was reading based on this. All of you like donuts.
You go, girls.
Okay, how you guys like coffee? And if you were a smoker, life was good for you too at this time. But this was what you would have waiting for you when you came off the front line. And so wax, waves, Marines as women, but the donut slinger, who I'm going to talk a little bit about, would have been a woman that was easy on the eyes, very well educated, and could talk to anybody. And Tina, I'm telling you, that's you, right? That's perfect. So there's a book out there, we were talking about different books. There's a book out there called Donut Slingers, and it's actually a wonderful book about how we served in a different way. Okay, Red Cross volunteer, do I have one? All right. Well, a plethora of things would have happened for the Red Cross. This one looks like I would say a bus per se converted into a blood bus, or maybe it might be one that just served coffee or talked. They were great psychologists, I would say, a lot of the Red Cross workers, if they were on the front line. But they also helped in different ways by having bandage rolling parties where they would just roll bandages over and over and over again, and thousands of them, and then ship them off.
Angie, can I ask you a question about this? I never
Sure.
understood. The bandages came unrolled. Is that the thing? And then you had to roll it. I never understood what the roll.
Believe it or not, yes. A lot of them were just long pieces of gauze, and they'd have to cut them into strips like we would for quilting, and then roll them themselves. So they weren't even sanitized, which was a little worried. But they didn't care. They figured if they're going to be using them on the front line, that's not going to be the problem. This picture was found from. This was kind of neat. I was searching for Indiana women in factories, and this is a family of 4 that were working in a munitions plant in Jeffersonville, which was mentioned earlier today. And so all 4 of them in the family would go there, and they were called the powder line ladies. So any of you guys working in the factory would know that, but all of them, and they don't look like Rosie the Riveter. They don't have a polka dotted here, they don't have blue, but they do have their hair up because can you imagine all the powder that would be in the air, and they would have to do it. And I know that this plant right now is turned into a state park. My husband and I found it in 1998. It turned into a state park. It's not a munitions powder plant anymore. And I'm finding that we can't. Can I get this? So.
How'd they get the name Rosie?
That's a good question because by the end of this program, you will know who the real Rosie is. Excellent question.
Angie, you want the rest of it?
Now, during my research, I found out that Evansville had 280 plants, not just munition plants, but they had ones for food production, clothing production, tanks, they had boats, everything. So Evansville boomed. The problem was they didn't have enough workers. So then comes the propaganda of getting people there. So they would take trains to Evansville. They would take buses. They would take caravans. I don't even know if people walked probably to get there, but they put up temporary housing within 45 miles of Evansville, and everybody worked. And so a lot of the plants actually had company homes that they had several people in. So that was unique. And of course, this made that national video. I was kind of excited. This is Indiana, so I was excited that we made the national video. This is unique because I didn't know about the amount of ammunition that would be produced. Indiana was considered one of the #1 ammunition producers, so it's kind of neat. You also brought this up as well. Ordnance is different in the military time versus else, and this printing was wrong, and so I made sure it was right. This is kind of neat because I actually have this box. I had found that at one of my reenacting friends gave me a box of this. The bullets aren't in it anymore because I do educational stuff at schools, and you can't have bullets in school. Oh. Now, I like this one, posters and movies. As I do my research, you all know the propaganda posters out there. You all know them. You've seen them. You've heard them. You know them all. I love how they just try to keep recruiting. And I kind of liked how they said, Uncle Sam's pointing at you. And you guys all know that women hate to be pointed at. there's a reason why Rosie's doing this, isn't she? Because she's not pointing at you to say, come on, girls, roll up those sleeves, we can do this. But these are some of the movies that were made at the time that talked about it and glamorized it a little bit of going into the factories. So, not so sure, like, anybody seen these two movies at all? Well, Cold Winter Nights are coming up. Feel free to look them up.
Do you have a copy of these things?
Not yet. I just watched them online. You can watch them on YouTube. Yep. Now, this is one of my favorite. I love the movie A League of Their Own. And we had two teams from Indiana. This was one of the original 10, South Bend Blue Sox, and I didn't know about that. And then Fort Wayne got a team a couple years later. So it was kind of unique to have that. And I'm sure that several people from the northern part got on the teams. I don't know if anybody from Lawrence County or Orange County got on the teams, but everybody tried out. And it was actually called the softball league in the beginning, and then it got switched over. So very unique to have that. Now, transport crews. Indianapolis actually was a transport hub for lots of different things. And so they would have a crew of women that would just transport the planes. That's it. That's all they go, one plane to one, get a hop and go back. So if you want to be an aviator of a sort, this would be one of them. One of the best stories I heard when I was doing an event in Evansville, I had a woman come down and say, can I tell you about my ancestors? I said, sure. She says, well, we're farmers, and my dad was the crop duster for the area. So when my brothers went off to war, my sister and I got to learn to crop dust. It was so awesome. Well, then my sister got in trouble a little bit by going a little close to people, doing some rolls, getting a little wild, known as a little hot dog. Texas heard about her, recruited her to come teach some fighter pilots how to do some, dog fights. And I got stuck at home doing all the work. So she told me about that. So one of the best things is to learn about how women in aviation. Again, here are some of the real Rosies that would have been out there, the Riveters per se. You can look at the welding helmets. You can see that they are working with steel a little bit more. That's getting closer to who the real Rosie is and how she came about. But notice they're wearing overalls and they're wearing a little bit different items. And they have to wear helmets, not cool, cute little hats like I'm having on right now. Now this one was kind of neat because when I talked about it, it wasn't, the article wasn't about a woman from Indiana. It actually was a woman from Kentucky that got recruited to go to Willow Run. And she mentioned a farm girl from Indiana was the best riveting partner I've ever had. She was strong and we did more rivets than anybody on our team. And I thought, well, that's kind of cool. Indiana got spoken again for being awesome. But she went up to Willow Run, which was in Ypsilanti. Bloomington, the RCA factory, obviously went to doing a lot of transistors and doing a lot of fine welding and things of that nature versus that they were doing soldering and doing small components. So we didn't have any big things in this area that we can speak of. But they all worked together. I like this one. Now, Willow Run is one of the most popular ones. This is where the Rosie the Riveter Guinness World Book of Records, all the Rosies get together, you dress up, and we all get there. There are about 2,000 of them, the last count that we had. But they're trying to save this plant right now. We had several people from Indiana leave the borders and go north to Ypsilanti because they were recruited, and they were recruited well. And they would go to high schools and say, I would make you this, and I would make you that. So as soon as you graduate, you've got a job. So they would recruit in high schools, and they would bring people up. But the victory farms are big for Lawrence County because we had lots of crops, we had lots of beef production, and so people would come in and take 2/3 of your crops. Any of you guys farmers at all? Okay, so you do know, you'd have this really great bumper crop, and then the government trucks would come in and say, oh, thank you so much, give us that, and your family would have 1/3 left, and you'd be thankful for it. At that time, you were so thankful that you even had some left, and there probably were times you didn't have much left. And so growing and doing things was a big thing for Lawrence County. Our beef production was probably top-notch in the state, and we're number 3 right now, I do believe, still. Who are my canners still? Anybody canning? Well, it wasn't a lost art like it is now. I mean, 4-H and the Cooperative Extension Service really promoted it a lot during this time, but everybody knew how to can. And people would share their canning ability. If we had too much, and I know my friend Nancy over there brings me peppers all the time, if you have too much of something, we might bring it to Rowena and she would can it. So we all would have it. So it was a really big thing of cooperation and sharing. I like this one. This was an Indianapolis picture. It's a bomber bar. Think about it for just a second. It's not what you think. It's to bring in metals that can be used to help make bombs and things of that nature. So it's kind of neat that they title it a bomber bar, and we think about it differently right now. Scrap metal was a huge issue. This is a picture of Stalker students who collected 2,000 pounds of scrap metal to be handed in. So, Stalker, yep. Yep. It doesn't say, it just tells what it is. And I actually, when I researched it a little bit, I do a lot with Google, I do a lot with Life Medias, and I type in exactly what I want, be specific. So Indiana, and I would say World War II scrap collection, and up will come this. But every school probably would have done this, and they probably had competitions between each schools. Now I like this one as well. We traveled so much during World War II because we went for jobs. Women and men went for jobs. And so there was a traveler's aid, which is an arm of the USO that would help travelers. They would help them with information in the new town. They'd help them find housing. They would also help with employment if they didn't have it already. And they'd also help with childcare while the people went to work. So travelers found all these things. So I always think it's the first welcome wagon maybe that was out there. Easy on the eyes. In the USO, they would hire and recruit women who were easy on the eyes, normally educated young women, like I was talking about our donut slinger over there, and they would have them be the front when someone got off a bus and say, okay, welcome to our city, this is what we have for you to do. And they would give them cigarettes again, and candies, and gum. And they were there for parades, they were there for processions, they were there for anything that happened. So you might have been on that team. Anybody guys want to volunteer to wear something unique like this and have that cool looking hat? Let alone the shoes. I'm not worried about that. Or, I know my friend Carol is probably awesome with this one. Any of you guys were cheerleaders in high school? Yeah, if you were a cheerleader, they probably would have you do majorette items. Again, we were supporting the war. If you left to go into the military, we were excited for you. If you came back, we were excited for you too. So everybody got a chance to be a part of it. So these may have been high school kids that got pulled in and said, hey, you guys, let's come along and we'll do our parade. Kind of a neat thing. I laugh about that a little bit because Boise High School, majorettes, I'm not sure where Boise High School is. I don't think it exists anymore because I researched it. Oh, there you go, another Indiana connection. It still exists? I don't know. We'll make sure we find it out. Now, I know that Mr. Bell and I were talking a little bit about ration books beforehand. Now, some of you remember these from your families. You may have them in boxes right now. You may have them put away. You remember them being in line and doing some different things. This one obviously is from Oxford, Indiana. Kind of a unique thing. I didn't remember them, but I have people bringing them to me. Like, this was in a box. I'm not going to ever use it. Would you use it? What's kind of nice when I get these things in my collection, I'm keeping the memory of that person, Alula, alive to make sure that other people will remember it. So really unique to have those. Who's got maybe one of these still? Who's not sure and have a box somewhere you might have to go through during the long winters? There you go. Now, ration lines. We don't know that here about ration lines. We had a little bit of issues when we had the $4 gas, but these are the ration lines that might be existing in any town in Indiana. You had to have your booklets, you had to have tokens, and there was on our artifact of the day had some tokens and some coupons there. But I like the last one. Bartering was the biggest thing during the rations, because if you had the ability to do something, you would do it for someone else and vice versa. So if I wanted to have gasoline, I had to probably be a shop owner of something. I did not get gasoline just for private use. So keep that in mind, because if we have someone that might have been our Mills person, that person would have gasoline rations more than anybody else so they could get food to us. Now this one I'm going to move over. Good Lord Almighty. Maybe I should move that back. Yeah, well, I could. I'll see what it's got. Well, I did this for my husband. He's a ham radio operator, and I did some research for him that during the war, all amateur ham radio operation was stopped. It's because they didn't want any confusion, loose lips, sink ship type thing going on. So the War Emergency Radio Service was enacted. So all the amateurs just joined that, so they had something still to do. So kind of a unique thing. This young lady is actually working with a Morse code and my husband would know it's a key, and then probably some form of radio. I wouldn't know. I never got to learn Morse code. Did you? Because that was actually a requirement for kids in World War II to learn Morse code. Just in case if a message came across, you should know what it was. I think a few of them over. Miss Mount, do you know? Did you guys learn? Yeah, good. So in case we send a message, okay, we're good. No texting. No texting. Oh, good. I'm not going to semaphore for you. There you go. Now, I like this one because I'm a crafty type person. Anybody here sew or do weaving or crochet? This young boy probably had to go do the weaving because mom was working. So he probably didn't like it. Notice he's not facing the camera, smiling, going, oh, this is great. I'm doing this. He's sitting there like, go ahead, take the picture, because I know I have to do this for 8 hours. But it didn't matter about age, gender, race, or your ability. I even read that some of our special needs adults were used to separate bolts because they could do the tactfulness, and it was something easy to do. Everybody got to use this. Anybody that was shorter than 5'4" were put in specific jobs to go in the smaller areas in submarines and planes and so forth. So men or women, if you were shorter than 5'4", I don't think you could go in the military either till you were a certain height. So the guys that really wanted to fight the war found service doing stuff that was still for the war but not being in the military. RCA, again, Bloomington, fine piecework. RCA, I find a lot about Bloomington because the Monroe County Historical Society probably has that cool little thing about the collections up there. And this was kind of neat because notice they're all working. We have a couple supervisors, but without supervisors, you wouldn't know what to do. So normally there was always 1 or 2 male supervisors, and then a female supervisor, and then all the workers. So you always had 1 or 2 males still there to help with the program and keep it consistent. Always promoting teamwork, and I say this nicely. In a way, during World War II, almost all the propaganda was to guilt you into doing something because they wanted you to be a part of it. They made you feel great and wonderful, but if you didn't do it, oh honey, we need to talk. That would be it, because if you didn't do it, they would probably look down on you, like, why isn't the family helping? Why aren't they working with us? Why aren't they doing this? You almost would be shunned. So this was a great thing. So there was posters out there. There's movie shorts. If you wanted to go see a movie, the first 10 minutes was all a war movie short. Always a war movie short. You're all shaking their heads because you all remember this? Okay, good. And then booklets. I have several copies of booklets up there. And then after I'm done today, you can go up and look at it. But it says, you know, we can do this together. We can talk about it. And it tells you what you should do as a citizen, what you shouldn't do as a citizen. And we talk a little bit about how you can be a part of something bigger than just your family. You're helping win the war. And there were victory speeches all over the place to say that your efforts from day one can help win the war. And we started to believe it around 43. It was a hard coming in the beginning because at first the only women that went into the workforce were in their 25s to 35s and they were single. And then they started marketing people who were married with children because they said, we'll provide you with child care. And then they marketed the grandmothers who still know how to do everything, come on out and help us as well. So they had women all the way from 60s down to 14 in factories. Radio shows. I love this because we talk a little bit about having a radio show at the little theater, but they would have radio shows and all sit around them. And so the radio shows would say, hey, notice that Kenny's working on this. And they would talk about community people, what they're doing. They'd also give reports about local servicemen if they were doing well or not. They would also talk a little bit about what you can do special coming up if there's someone's birthday. If you want to write letters, letter campaigns were really big to write letters to our servicemen. So the community was always connected. Now, here's where Rosie comes from. Believe it or not, a conglomerate of all these people is put into a song. The song came after Westinghouse had the Rosie the Riveter. So I'm going to play the song for you. I won't sing it. Believe me, it's not very good. I'll play the song for you, but it was in 1942. It was written in 43. It made the big band, and everybody was playing it. So then now, if you were a Rosie, you're like, that's my song. That's all about me. Got a little excited. So let's listen to this. And it's got a little video that goes with it as well.
Down on the She's making history, working for victory. Rosie, the Riveter, keeps showing up out at the sabotage, sitting up there on the fuselage. That little friend will do more than the men to do. Rosie, the Riveter, Rosie got her friend Charlie. Charlie, he's a Marine. Rosie is protecting Charlie, working overtime on the riveting machine. When they gave her a production need, she was as proud as a girl could be. There's something true about red, white, and blue about Rosie, the Riveter. Rosie, the Riveter, Rosie, 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 working on assembly line. Bubble day, bubble day, bubble leave, leave, leave it, bubble day. Read before, read before, read it. Rosie, 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 the Riveter, on the assembly line.
Yay! Now you see why I didn't sing it, because you'd have to all do the for me, don't you think? So, Rowena asked, where did the real Rosie the Riveter come from and how it came about? Well, I used to think it was the Westinghouse poster as well, and I had to do a little research. This is the first public picture of a Rosie the Riveter. This is the one that's more true to form, because look at her. I'm not messing with her. What about you guys? So it's Norman Rockwell, and oh, gee, my screen again. I've got the computer with it. Okay, so in 1943, this is the first published Rosie. Norman Rockwell did it after the Saturday Evening Post. It traveled and promoted for war bonds, which you had a copy of a war bond ribbon that we've never seen before. Is kind of neat. So this would go around, prints of this would go around to help helping the war. Now, a couple things I looked at this and researched it. Notice her foot is on a copy of Mein Kampf. She's stepping on Hitler. Yeah, she's pretty much telling him this is what's going to happen to you because my loafers are on top of you and I got a penny in them. She's got a riveting gun. Now, riveting takes two people. So this is a conglomerate of two people. And she's sitting with her jeans rolled up. She's got her red socks, of which every Rosie has a pair. She's got her riveting gun. If you look at her, she's eating kind of casually her sandwich with a little bit of a smug look on her face, like, yeah, that's my work over there. Check it out. You notice she has a halo over her head because she's the angel of World War II that helped with all the machinery to help the victory. So Norman Rockwell kind of did this along with Michelangelo's Isaiah. And so if you look at it, that's what they're doing. And actually the model that he used for this was his neighbor who was a hygienist. And he said, you know, I'm going to make this all based on all the conglomerates of what she is. So now you know where the real Rosie came from. Let's go on. That's it. I'm going to give up the screen. Whoa! Maybe I will. Let's see here. Okay, so who is the real Rosie? I'm looking at the descendants of all of them. All of them, absolutely. It's not just one person, it's a conglomerate. So Roswell Moreau, she was the Rosie the River that was found in Ypsilanti, and she was actually put in movie shorts to promote more people going into aircraft work and so forth. She was on movies. She was actually pulled off the assembly line, Ypsilanti, and did that. Now, Rosa Bonilla and Rosalind Walter were riveters, but they're the ones that got the song written about them because they were that good. And so someone watched them work. They got awards, the E Award for excellence, repeatedly. Geraldine Huff Doyle was the metal press operator, and she is part of the Westinghouse. She is the one that was the model for this poster. And a lot of people don't like it because she's way too pretty. Her nails are done, she's got her lips on, she's looking really pretty, but she's what wanted everybody to come in. Come on in and work with us. Notice she's not pointing at you and say, get off your butts, ladies, and come to, no, she's like, okay, I'm gonna do this, so can you. Right? If I can do a toothbrush thing, you can too. So Westinghouse in 1942 used it only 2 months in their own plants, and then it was never seen again until 1980.
Is that right?
That's what the research tells me. So it's kind of neat. But it was reborn, and everyone's using it as the Rosie icon. Probably because if I had to go back and try to be the Norman Rockwell one, I don't think I can pull that one off as well. I don't have Arnold Schwarzenegger's. So, given that, part of the American Rosie River Association is meant to be here to help preserve the Rosie stories. So I have a couple Rosie stories. I've got one Rosie sitting right here that we're going to be talking a little bit about. And I have my red folder, let me get that, about a couple real Rosies that you asked about and what we can talk about. Well, in our own museum, we have a WAC, Rita Winkler. She's got her uniform and some of her items in a case over there. She's one of our real Rosies from here. Let's see here. Lee Hutchins sent me a little bit about this, just saying that all the defense pilots and war stamps and so forth, he has no names of anyone particular as a Rosie, but he says he just remembers a lot of good-looking women doing some lot of work. Paul Batts works with me at Shawswick Middle School. His grandmother, Martha Batts, now this is unique. She worked in a wartime factory in northern Indiana. I'm thinking Fort Wayne. She was so productive, she did her quota separate than all the other men because she was faster. She also was kept aside from harassment from the gentlemen, and they were little slackers, and she let them know that. So I wonder if they're keeping her away from them, and vice versa. She was also baked pies for the local restaurants. Then she went to work a third job as a practical nurse. She got 3 to 4 hours of sleep a night because she wanted the war to be over. She said, if I work hard now, it'll be over soon. So it was a wonderful, wonderful job. And then Smokey here, can I read this? Is this okay? Okay, she says, let's see, I did work on planes and other military machines, but I did not work on planes or other military machines, but I did work in a transportation office in Knoxville, Tennessee, where they would assembly, let's see, there were the companies that picked up the materials for the atomic bomb and delivered them to Oak Ridge, Tennessee, where they were assembled into a bomb. I guess I did my part. Can we give her a round of applause, please? I have applications for anybody else that has anybody that's a Rosie. I think Ray Robson brought in something that his mother was a Rosie. Other people may have that as well. I have some applications that you can get to honor them. Their story gets put on a website and put into books, so you can do that as well, and they get a certificate basing that they are Rosie. Thank you so much for your time.